Well, folks, Donald Trump says that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. We don't know whether that is true or not, but the political impact of a Trump arrest would be absolutely great for Donald Trump, actually. Donald Trump lit the fuse. He lit that rocket, and now we are going to explore whether, in fact, Donald Trump will be arrested tomorrow. So, Donald Trump, over the weekend, he announced on Truth Social that he was about to be arrested imminently. He put out a statement that said, quote, "Now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan District Attorney's office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by George Soros," so far, all true, "indicate that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back." Okay, so he's announcing, we have no other information that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday, but he's announcing that there's a leak that is saying that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. And then he continued by saying, Biden wants to pretend he has nothing to do with the Manhattan DA's assault on democracy when, in fact, he has stuffed the DA's office with the Department of Injustice people, including one top DOJ operative from D.C. who's actually running the Horseface witch hunt. Horseface is his name for Stormy Daniels. Bragg is a Soros racist in reverse who is taking his orders from D.C. I beat them twice, doing much better the second time, and despite their disinformation campaign, they don't want to run against Trump or my great record. So his theory, apparently, is that not only is he going to be arrested, the reason he's going to be arrested is so the Democrats can stop him from running. We'll get to the actual political implications of a possible arrest itself, but we have to begin with the information. So Trump is the only person so far, including the DA, who's come out and said that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. Now, there was speculation late last week that there was a possibility that as a grand jury investigation continues in New York, the possibility of an indictment was growing. However, there has been no actual leak from the DA's office to the public about the possibility of Trump being arrested, which suggests that somebody from the DA's office must have called Trump and asked him to turn himself in. But even that is sort of up in the air. At this point, we just don't know what we don't know. And as it turns out, there are still witnesses who have to testify before that New York grand jury. So the highest likelihood at this point, just from a pure procedural standpoint, is that Donald Trump heard a rumor from a friend of a friend, and that friend of a friend said, you're going to be arrested on Tuesday, and Trump, not having any sort of filter, just went directly to Truth Social and put that out there. But we have no other corroborative information that he will, in fact, be arrested on Tuesday. Now, that's not to say he won't be arrested. He could certainly be arrested on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the following week, right? Anytime that could happen. And again, Alvin Bragg in New York, the DA there, who is, in fact, Soros elected. He's a person who's funded by George Soros, a very left-wing prosecutor. He's sort of implied that an indictment is on the table for Trump in the near future. But this set the entire world ablaze, obviously, because when the former president of the United States and the current frontrunner in the Republican nominating race announces that he is likely to be arrested by a hardcore Democrat prosecutor in New York over a crime that was allegedly committed back in 2016, and you may have checked your calendar recently, it is now 2023. And the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor in the state of New York, on a New York State misdemeanor, is 2 years, which would have ended this thing in 2018. And the statute of limitations on a New York felony is 5 years, which would have ended this thing in 2021. And the only way to extend beyond that statute of limitations is to somehow hook Trump's behavior from 2016 into a federal campaign finance felony. That would be the only theory under which you could do this sort of thing. This starts to look really dicey in the first place. And it also does look politically motivated because we've had too many prosecutors who've come out and they've said that we are going to get Trump, right? We had Letitia James, when she took office as Attorney General of New York, officially say, like in her opening statement, we're going to get Trump. We're going to go after him, which, by the way, is not how you go after crime. The way that you typically go after crime is you find a crime and then you prosecute the person who committed the crime. You don't find a person you would like to prosecute and then you figure out which crime they have committed. But it seems like there are a lot of prosecutors out there who have done this. Well, an arrest might counterintuitively be kind of good for President Trump, but you know what's always bad for you? Big tech grabbing your data. Here is the thing. All those big tech services, the ones who say they're free, they're not really free. They're grabbing your data and then they're selling those to various advertising agencies, or they're gathering data on you for their own purposes. They're also working hand in glove with the government and handing over that data to the government if the government requests it. Plus, you got hackers who are looking at your network to try and grab your data. So why not protect yourself the way that I do with a VPN, namely the best VPN on the market, ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that anonymizes your online presence, making it much more difficult for big tech companies to track and sell your data. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data and protects you from cyber criminals. I use ExpressVPN on literally all my devices, my phone, my laptop, even my Wi-Fi router. If you, like me, believe that your online activity is nobody's business but your own, get the VPN I trust at expressvpn.com/Ben. Use my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/Ben. Get an extra 3 months for free. That's expressvpn.com/Ben. expressvpn.com/Ben. Get an extra 3 months for free. Well, if it seems like all of our experts are failing us, from our legal experts to our financial experts, that's because that's exactly what's happening. A great way to diversify against their bad decision-making is to head on over to my friends at Birch Gold. You've seen the impact on the stock market. You've seen the impact on your savings of the government raising those interest rates, because that's the only tool that they actually have to keep the inflation under control. They can hedge against inflation and uncertainty by owning gold, whether that's in physical gold or silver in your safe at home, through an IRA in precious metals, where you can hold real gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. I've bought gold from Birch Gold in preparation for uncertain times. I diversify because that's just a smart investment strategy. I'm not saying liquidate all your assets and put them in gold bars or something. I am saying that you should diversify your asset base because that's just a smart thing to do. Right now, just text Ben to 989898. You get your free info kit on gold, and you can claim eligibility for your free safe, because right now, on qualifying purchases from Birch Gold now through March 31st, they will ship a free safe directly to your door. That's Ben to 989898 to get started. Talk to one of their precious metal specialists. Text Ben to 989898 today. Now, Trump has opened himself up on a wide variety of scores by using what would be at best dicey behavior, but that two things can be true at once. That dicey behavior can be dicey and also not criminal, as we've seen multiple times in the past. And we'll get to legal predicate for the kind of charge that Alvin Bragg would be trying to bring against Trump. And we'll show that that legal predicate really does not exist. There'd be a novel legal theory if carried to fruition. So according to the Associated Press, even as Trump's lawyer and spokesperson said there had been no communication from prosecutors, Trump declared in a post on his social media platform he expects to be taken into custody on Tuesday. Again, this is why I say I think Trump is just kind of speaking off the cuff as per his usual arrangement. I don't think this is a planned statement. I don't think there was a leak directly from the New York DA's office to Trump. It sounds like this went through a process of telephone, and finally Trump got the information that he was going to be arrested on Tuesday, and he put that out there. But as I say, there's still process to take place. Business Insider is reporting that a possible Donald Trump hush money indictment is on hold until a final witness even testifies before a Manhattan grand jury on Monday afternoon. A source with knowledge of the investigation told Insider Saturday night there is at least one more witness. That source spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to divulge details of the grand jury proceedings. Well, if there's still a witness, that means the grand jury has not even voted yet on whether they believe that an indictment would be justified or necessary, which means that it seems weird that Trump, before the grand jury has even decided, would be saying, I'm going to get arrested on Tuesday. Probably somebody told him the soonest you could be arrested is on Tuesday, and they're already talking about an arrest. The source declined to identify the witness, whose testimony will cap a 2-month grand jury presentation by prosecutors under District Attorney Alvin Bragg. A separate source who spoke on condition of anonymity said that the witness is not Alan Weisselberg, that's Trump's former CFO. The star witness for the grand jury so far has been former Trump attorney and fixer Michael Cohen. He expected to be the final grand jury witness when he testified on Monday and Wednesday of last week. And so bottom line is that Trump's timing may be off. Now, that doesn't undercut the fact that if he is indeed arrested, it's going to be an absolute bombshell in the middle of American politics, the presidential race, and law enforcement generally. Okay, so again, Trump announces that he is likely to be arrested on Tuesday, and then he put out another post saying, quote, "It's time," this is all capital letters, "It's time," 3 exclamation points. "We just can't allow this anymore. They're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. We must save America. Protest, protest, protest." And this, of course, led the entire media to immediately jump into, he's going to start another insurrection. It's an insurrection. It's an insurrection. First of all, there's nothing illegal about calling for people to protest. If there were, then the entire Black Lives Matter movement would have never got off the ground in June of 2020. Democrats love protests until they are protests of things that they don't particularly like, at which point it becomes a threat to democracy. Trump saying protest does not mean that he is calling for a violent insurrection against anybody. You know how I know? Because there's an actual crime in the United States called incitement. You can be prosecuted for it. If you say to your neighbor, you should go out and you should commit an act of violence against Bob, and then he goes out and commits an act of violence against Bob, then you will be prosecuted for incitement. It is not incitement to say protest, 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 even in all capital letters, even if it's Donald Trump, even if there are lots of exclamation points. So let's go through a little bit of the actual case here with regard to what's happened. So first of all, Michael Cohen, who would be the chief witness in all of this, and who himself has been, I believe, convicted of perjury. And he lied when he was talking about his taxes and all of this. And he pled guilty to campaign finance fraud. As we'll talk about, that has implications for Trump's actual case, because those two cases are one and the same with regard to Stormy Daniels. But he was also convicted for hiding money from the IRS and all the rest. Michael Cohen says Trump isn't doing this because the DA leaked. He's doing this because he's essentially leaking the fact that he's going to be arrested. Okay, whatever. Here's Michael Cohen.
This untruth social post that was put out by Donald, knowing Donald the way that I do, I don't see a reason that Donald would have put out the statement unless he has or his team have been contacted by the district attorney's office and advised accordingly. It's not Donald to turn around and to come up with something for just because he's bored at Mar-a-Lago, sitting there on a Saturday morning, hey, let's stir this all up. And I'll tell you something else about when I read that post. It's eerily similar to the battle cry that he put out just prior to the January 6th insurrection.
Okay, that sort of stuff is super tiresome. Super tiresome. And the reason that it's super tiresome, of course, is because saying that you want people to protest is not the same thing as saying that you want them to commit acts of violence. I will say, every time I hear Michael Cohen, I can't help but think of the Donald Trump tweet, maybe my favorite Donald Trump tweet of all time. And there's a long list. I mean, Donald Trump's Twitter feed is just lit. But Donald Trump, August 22nd, 2018, quote, "If anyone is looking for a good lawyer, I would strongly suggest you don't retain the services of Michael Cohen." One of my favorite tweets of all time. Of course, Donald Trump has a habit of not hiring the best people. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show continues right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into the latest with regard to Russia, Ukraine, China, and we'll be getting into the mailbag. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click the link in the description and join us.